Assalamu alaikum everybody. This is like a world record. I'm making another video within the week of making another video, which is crazy. Usually I wait 2 months for another video, which is bad. That's bad. Anyway, trying to be better. And anyway, this is my new video. In my discussions with people, there's a question that keeps on coming up, and a lot of people are asking about, how do I believe in God? I have questions about Islam in general. How do we even approach questions of sexual orientation and gender within a religious tradition that you don't necessarily believe in? That's really difficult. And that's quite understandable too. I can see how questioning your sexuality or coming to know about your sexuality or your gender, and that causing a lot of doubts within Islam and everything. There's a lot of people out there that are asking, does God exist? And that's a huge question. Like, people have been asking that question forever, right? So anyway, that video is about that, about asking this question. First off, that you are questioning, that anybody is questioning the existence of God is overall a good thing, as long as you are sincere and looking for the truth. So that you are questioning is a good thing. That belief can't come from just somebody telling you what to believe, and it has to come from you. It has to come from your heart. It has to come from your mind. And seeking knowledge is basically what we're on this planet to do, right? I was sitting for Friday prayer back home, and the Khatib was talking about Surah Al-Baqarah, and Surah Al-Baqarah, two of the most common words mentioned are knowledge and God consciousness, taqwa, right? And that's amazing. That's amazing. That reminds me of the creation story of Adam, where Allah teaches Adam the names of all things, and Allah goes up to the angels and says, can you name all these things? Do you know what these things are? And they say, no, you know better than us. And then he turns to Adam and says to Adam, tell them, that we can learn. This is part of our reason for existence. We are here to learn. So, yeah, just that first thing. Just seeking knowledge is good. Returning back to this question about the existence of God, everyone comes to their own answers, okay? And it gets very subjective, whether or not you believe in God or not. What kind of God you believe in also depends on what you subjectively find to be true personally. Personally, I found Islam to be very meaningful to me. And when I was searching, reading the Quran, learning about Islam, that's what really attracted me. There are two things that really struck me. This absolute monotheism, tawheed, in Islam, la ilaha illallah, that, and just that the whole creation is an ayah. All creation indicates God. All creation points at God, points at a creator. Those were the two things that really affected me. Oneness of God especially, because I found that a lot of criticism on the belief in God is actually criticizing how people think of God. That people think about God as like this father figure or this kingly figure up in the clouds, A lot of people criticize that view of God, and that's not God. That's people trying to put names and words to something that's indescribable. And the other thing, like I said, creation indicating God. Some beautiful verses. Again, I'm mentioning Surah Al-Baqarah. There's this verse, I'm going to read it. Most surely in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and the day, and the ships that run in the sea, with that which profits people, and the water that God sends down from the cloud, then gives life with it to the earth after its death, and spreads in it all kinds of animals, and the changing of the winds and the clouds made subservient between the heaven and the earth. There are signs for people who understand. Again, people who understand. Again, the knowledge thing is there. And just all of creation is reflecting upon God and indicates God and is a proof for God's existence. So that's what's unique about Islam, this emphasis on knowledge and then reflecting upon the world around us and ourselves. And Also, I wanted to say this too, that in Islam, faith and reason go hand in hand. While Europe was in the Dark Ages, what was the Islamic world doing? It was producing new knowledge that we're still benefiting from. Okay, they took Greek philosophy, for example, and took it further. They took science and astronomy and physics and everything and took it further. So science and faith has always gone hand in hand within Islam. Now, Islam being in a Western context, we've kind of adopted the same issues that a lot of Christians have been dealing with, such as evolution and other things like that. Evolution is like the first one that comes to my mind, because it's the one that like really grinds my gears the most. I'm not going to go into that, otherwise I'll be talking for the entire rest of the video on that. But there's this fear of science and everything that Muslims have kind of adopted being in the West. You know, we've kind of lost that ideal of having faith and reason hand in hand. And it's important. Faith is important. Faith is not, doesn't disqualify you as a reasoning human being. As Karen Armstrong says, you need logos, which is the way she words reason, and mythos, which is her word for faith or myth, you know, kind of things that aren't exactly true scientifically. For example, we can talk about the chemical and hormonal changes in your body when you fall in love, right? But science can't talk about love. Okay, you can talk about what happens in our bodies when we fall in love, but it can't talk about love. It says nothing about love, actually. Poetry does that, or art. So we need both. We need reason and faith. And what I'll leave you guys with is, ultimately, you can't prove or disprove God. Karen Armstrong also talks about this classical Islamic scholar, Al-Ghazali, and he pretty much had a meltdown trying to prove God's existence. He was really bothered by the fact that he couldn't prove God's existence. But eventually he had to admit to himself that God can't be proven. God exists, but he can't be proven. In Arabic we have the word wujud to talk about God. God is wujud. God exists. And wujud basically means found, right? It's the same root for the verb to find. So even in English, we never say, I believe in God because I've proven God's existence. We never say that. What we do say, though, is, I believe in God because I found God. And I think that's what we need to focus on. When we think about, does God exist, we have to think about it in that terms. Anyway, that's my input in the does God exist question, and a little bit about how I've come to terms with that and how I've made sense of it. Anyway, until next time, assalamu alaikum and goodbye.